CIA sort of informally just asks them some questions. They said, so what did you see here? Were there, say you travel to Ukraine or somewhere proximate to it. What do you see there? Were there Russians? Did it seem like there were separatists here? This is a huge collection platform for the CIA. And the way that they target these people are people that travel overseas and might have seen something. Well, somebody like Epstein was friends with heads of state, traveled to Saudi Arabia, said he was friends with MBS, all these things.
And you've been reporting on it a lot, but like the thing that I think is really shifting culture right now for people is the Epstein story, because they're just trying to bury this thing now. And it's the same, like, Trump had a base that was interested in this story, and the left was interested in the story too, but like his base was pushing it all the time because of Bill Clinton and all that.
Yeah, it's so funny to see both sides try to be like, this actually makes the other side look bad. It's like, dude, this makes everyone in power look terrible. What are you talking about?
Now, what do you think that was? What do you think Epstein was?
In what sense do you mean?
Do you think he was an intel op? Do you think he was?
Well, so we need to be. I want to see more nuance in how this is discussed, because there's tiers of access for a type of person. So like at the very top there, people throw around the word asset. That's a certain word. Mm-hmm. There's much more informal relationship, which can just be, because I know, because I'm the beneficiary of this kind of relationship where you go and you talk to intel people and they tell you things, and you're not necessarily a confidential human source, or you haven't signed a paper or anything, but there's an exchange going on where they ask you things about the world, you ask them things about their world, and you talk about stuff. Do I think that Epstein had that? Absolutely. Oh, sorry, that's my phone.
Oh, you're good. You're good. No, you're good. Don't worry about it. There's people hitting you up for stories. You want to throw them on a speaker? See what they have to say? Just tell them no one's listening. It's just you and me. We're good to go. And, we'll see what happens behind the scenes. It's like a video leak. You know what I mean? Live on the show.
Okay, so there was something extraordinary in the Justice Department review that the Trump administration did that hardly got any attention, which was that, the kind of mainstream response to it was, oh, I found that there was nothing here and it was just a big conspiracy theory. Ha ha, joke's on them because they believe this thing. But if you read it closely, it said, you could pull it up. It says he had 1,000 victims. And what had been alleged by prosecutors before that was like 24 or so.
Personal.
So that's totally.
Personal victims.
I don't remember exactly how they worded it, but I think so. And so that was a huge change in the number that they alleged before. And I just read the document, and I'm like, wait a second, that's a big jump. So how did, who were these people? Like, how is there nothing else actionable in this case, given that you've only prosecuted 2 people in relation to it? None of the Johns have any kind of exposure here. And so I was trying to raise some of these questions, and I remember I went on a show, and it was like a little bit uncomfortable because I feel like they expected there to be 2 sides. It's a conspiracy side, and then the way they framed it was like, or you're the crazy conspiracy person. It's like, well, there's a third position, which is just looking at what this review itself found, and it's not just Pam Bondi. You have to have an entire slew of subordinates pulling these things together, looking at this stuff. And so if that wasn't true, someone would have said at this point, the media would have been like, well, we talked to the people in the review and this was overstated or whatever, because they've reported a lot critically on what happened. Nobody's disputed that point, but nobody seems much interested in what exactly it means. So who are those 1,000 people? And that's like industrial scale abuse, right? To have that many victims. And then, so to your question earlier about was he an intel asset? I would guess to me, it's inconceivable that there wasn't some kind of interaction between him, because he's traveling. I'll give you an example. The CIA has something in it called the National Resources Division, and their whole job, they process probably hundreds or thousands of people that travel overseas that come back from a country of interest to the United States, Russia, for example, or wherever. And CIA sort of informally just asks them some questions. They said, so what did you see here? Were there, say you travel to Ukraine or somewhere proximate to it. What do you see there? Were there Russians? Did it seem like there were separatists here? This is a huge collection platform for the CIA. And the way that they target these people are people that travel overseas and might have seen something. Well, somebody like Epstein was friends with heads of state, traveled to Saudi Arabia, said he was friends with MBS, all these things. Not to have been asked that at some point in his years of gallivanting around the world, all these things, it's inconceivable to me. So at least that kind of association, I think, probably existed. But then to say, was he an asset? That formalizes it. The American intelligence community is much less comfortable with existing in a sort of gray space of these relationships as some other services, like Russian services, for example. And so they want to formalize things. If you're going to be an asset, you're going to be an asset. You have to sign this agreement, and here are the expectations, here are the things. So I would guess that they would be too risk averse to do that. But that's just a guess. I don't really know anything about it. But yeah, there are these tiers, and that's how I think it should be discussed, is like how far up this ladder did he climb over the course of his, whatever he was doing. And I mean, he knew all of these heads of state who are explicitly the targets of our collection, whether it's signals intelligence, human intelligence. So for there not to be some kind of association is very hard for me to believe.
Yeah. I've talked about it before, but Tara Palmieri did a couple amazing podcasts back in 2020-ish, somewhere in there. One was like called The Maxwells. The other one was called Epstein. She would go around with Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who's now deceased, but that was a major source for her. And like they would record some of the people who were around it would agree to be recorded on, audio and run through this. It was like a documentary style. And the thing that I just can't wrap my head around is they got his housekeeper, I think his name was Juan Carlos, to go on record, and this is the guy who was like watching his New York house, and then sometimes
this is the guy from the Black Book. Is that him?
Well, he's probably in it, but he was the guy who managed his New York apartment or townhouse, and then I think he would travel with them to other places. And it's like I think it was episode 2 of that Epstein series when they did that, but. It's tough to listen to because you can tell the guy's weighing so many different things because he would turn a blind eye to stuff and tell himself things weren't happening, but now he knows they were, and like there's tremendous guilt. It's strange. But he talks about how Epstein, like in around 1992, just suddenly he's like, listen, I was helping him out. I worked for him a little bit. He was a wealthy guy. But he wasn't crazy wealthy. And then something happened in 92. And he's like, he got crazy wealthy. Like he did. That's when he started looking at the jet, suddenly had the townhouse, was building a place in West Palm. He's like, I didn't think anything of it. I just figured he was doing a good job at his job. But like, to me, when I see things like that, that's not natural. Like there's money that changes hands there. We know he was on all these weird trusts with Leslie Wexner. It's like, well, why is he on that? What are they doing? And so why do you think now there's been this enormous change where you got like Pam Bondi bragging about the stuff she's got on her desk for months, and then suddenly they're like, oh, yeah, no, nothing to see here. In fact, Obama invented this. It's Democrats. Like, what is this?
I wonder if they actually believe that, this stuff only indicts the other side. And then they look at it, it's like, actually, that wasn't true. And they're just realizing it late. Like, that's another thing about Washington. The extent to which they really believe their own bullshit. Like, you come into it thinking it's going to be like, House of Cards kind of thing. But like you start talking to these guys and it's like there's a naivete that's almost shocking where they really believe their own side's propaganda.
You think they believe it or they're great actors?
I mean, there's different types of people in the system, but I very often saw real believers in a way that was even scarier because a true believer, it's hard to argue against. It's almost a religious adherence in a way that a cynic will pursue their own interests. And so if you can create an incentive structure that would be better, they'll respond to it. You can't appeal that way to somebody that actually believes it.
Do you think we'll ever know even a modicum of the truth on Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, in some ways I see this as a populist victory because Trump, this is kind of the first high-profile example where he just said, no, this whole thing is fake and it's just the Democrats, blah, blah, blah. And his own base, to their credit, was like, no, you said that you were going to do this. Now you've got to do it. And there have been, he's clearly feeling the heat. There's been some things in the way of, it looks like they're moving close. Congress is making things awkward for them with this subpoena stuff that they're pursuing with Bill Clinton, for example. I think they just subpoenaed, if I read right, I think they just subpoenaed Bill Clinton to respond to a series of questions about
Congress
Epstein.
did.
I think so, yeah. So these are real concessions that happen when people stand up and get involved in something. Yeah, look at that.
Trump and Clinton about to be the Bloods and Crips holding the fucking thing together going, yay.
That's really extraordinary. People did that. This wasn't Trump. This wasn't the Democrats. Yeah. This was people saying, no, you said you were going to do this. Now you have to do it.
Can we scroll down, Joe? What was that, Ken? Sorry.
I think there's this impression that, the intelligence community's run amok. There's nothing we can do. And Congress, if it wants to do something, can. Unfortunately, it doesn't want to, but if the public gets angry enough and forces them to do so, as we've seen here, they can.
Well, we're going to see how much the internal party political pressure matters anymore with, say, for example, like this Trump on Massey thing that's going on.
Yeah.
Where like Thomas Massey is also one of the guys who's like, hey, I want to look at this. And Trump's like, fuck you, I'm going to create a super PAC against you. And there, now that, you know, the internet can share this information, there's a lot of people who probably fervently voted for Trump who were like grassroots donating to Thomas Massey right now, who's just a little representative in comparison. So some of the culture shift of like people being aware of the pawns on the table and, you know, once in a while a pawn that might actually say something that's like, oh, we want to keep that guy there. It's very different than it was in 1995,
Totally.
where someone like this could just be silenced and never heard from again.
Totally. I just did a story several weeks ago about how I think the title was like party control collapses. What you're seeing is party discipline, in I think a really healthy way, is starting to disintegrate. Polling shows that the majority of self-identified Democrats not just would like new leadership of the party, they want to kick out all of the ones that are at the top of their party. And in the case of Trump, we're seeing a sort of mirror image of that in this Epstein case. And I wonder if Epstein is sort of symptomatic of a deeper discontent where they're like, you have to deliver on what you said. And here's a very clear example where we can talk about it and it's something everyone understands and we can, you know, push on it. But I wonder if there's something deeper there, which is the same thing that's happening with the Democrats, feeling as though stuff isn't being delivered on that they thought would be when they voted for him. So I think on both sides, and then we were just talking about Mamdani, nobody in the party leadership wanted that. Are you kidding? They would have picked a Republican over him. And so the base very clearly was like, no, we're going to pick someone different. And so you're seeing this on both sides. I think it's a really positive development because the leadership of the party says run everything into the ground.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.